Welcome back to the fourth episode of the Arstotzkan Automotive Challenge, where players compete to make the best 1970s communist car in automation. In this episode, we'll be seeing the last of the new cars. By the time we're done, we'll have seen all 26 entries, and we'll know exactly who is going on to the finals and who's been eliminated. Here's the first of 7 cars to be reviewed by the Automotive Council. The Paradizna Tilestu is a front-engine, rear-wheel drive hatchback powered by a quite highly performing 1.3-liter 4-cylinder, and it sits on a very advanced chassis. It's got a unibody, front dual wishbones, and rear semi-trailing arms, making it fully independent, and this is all manufactured to a high standard of quality. And another design choice which may have been too forward-thinking, the whole engine's built out of aluminum. This saves weight, but it doesn't help with reliability. It has fairly wide tires, and 4 disc brakes, so it has good cornering and braking. Altogether, these decisions put the car pretty close to the top of the budget, and it seems like it might not have left much room for anything else. For example, the interior is an aggressively simplified basic interior with no radio at all. It's surprisingly comfortable considering this, thanks to the chassis design, but still not competitive with the cars in its budget. All of this advanced tech where the rubber meets the road has made the car quite sporty, but it's not very comfortable, it's not very easy to drive, it doesn't stand out on practicality or utility or reliability, and it's expensive too. So unfortunately, this car is getting eliminated. The Leta is a rear-wheel drive hatchback which comes standard with an automatic transmission and power steering, giving it an impressive drivability score of 46. It has fairly decent comfort even with a basic interior, and on those grounds alone, Dimitri is interested in this one. Unfortunately, at its heart is a 1.3-liter overhead valve motor, which is running way too rich while producing not very much power, and has ignition timing which is in need of remedial classes. The result is an incredibly thirsty fuel economy of under 18 miles per gallon. It also has the worst cornering Gs of any car at 0.67 thanks to a goofy suspension setup and some pretty poor braking to boot. It doesn't stand out in off-road or practicality, so it gets a no from Sergio. Unfortunately, the adorable little roof rack provides no bonus here. And if the terrible gas mileage wasn't already enough, expensive corrosion-resistant steel pushes it to the top of the budget, so it gets a no from Vonel as well. That means that the Leta is eliminated. The Pezzo Citta is another transverse front-wheel drive car, this time on a ladder frame. It suffers from a bit of a case of
not great or terrible.
For example, it makes about 42 horsepower and gets about 26 miles to the gallon on the cheap fuel, which doesn't sound bad, but for example the Marizitra does 30 miles to the gallon with similar horsepower. Some of that might be down to the fact that it only has a 3-speed transmission. Comfort's pretty good, but drivability is not too impressive for a front-wheel drive car. Maybe it could use some power steering. And the suspension's way too soft. It can potentially bottom out, it's prone to understeer, and it doesn't have a good load capacity. With a 0 to 60 of 25 seconds, it's also uncomfortably slow considering its price. Basically in each category, there's another car that does it better, so this car is eliminated. This next car is something completely different. The FarAZ-45625 Svoboda. I'm not even sure where to start with this car, but maybe with the engine. The Svoboda is powered by a 2.5-liter V6, making 87 horsepower. It's also longitudinal front-wheel drive. This completely unique setup gives it some real get up and go. The next thing to notice about this car is that it's huge, much bigger than most of the other entries here. This gives it room for lots of cargo and fully 6 seats. Its size helps it to be the most comfortable car here as well by an enormous margin, outshining even the Iron Horse, which had a premium interior. It also has a tall and soft suspension design which is still manageable, giving it great drivability on the road and a decent off-road score as well. It even has a fairly advanced and modern chassis, of exactly the same sort that the Paradizna struggled to afford. So what's the secret that gets this car more for less money? The answer is negative quality and lots of it, in various areas, but especially the engine family and the chassis. There's also only a 3-speed transmission. It must have taken some very careful tuning to avoid negative consequences from these decisions. There's also some positive quality in the aero and fuel system, which still only manages to get the car 21 miles per gallon, which is
Not great or terrible.
the one stat that really couldn't avoid being hurt by this was reliability. At a flat 60, it's the second worst out of all the cars in the lot. This is a controversial car among the council. Vonel doesn't just disapprove of this car, he actively despises it, with a bad reliability and an even worse maintenance cost. On the other hand, Sergio really likes this because it's powerful and big, and Dmitry really likes this because it's powerful and big. That means that the Svoboda is going on to the next round. The KBL 900 is the exact opposite sort of car. It's a tiny commuter with a 900cc 3-cylinder engine. The chassis is built in a ladder frame with wishbone fronts and torsion beam rear, and the body is a little 2-door sedan. It's easily among the best looking cars here. Everything about the design is extremely conservative. It has only 4 seats, and it's the only car in the whole lot to eschew a radio entirely. The engine's a pushrod design with a very mild tune. It gets 30 horsepower, 31 miles per gallon, and 30 seconds 0 to 60. It's awfully slow, even by Arstotzkan standards. All of this thinking small has got the total cost of the car down to $12,400. Being the smallest, slowest, and cheapest car is a noble endeavor, but unfortunately at this price, it's still head-to-head with competitors like the ZRD-P, which has higher comfort, drivability, and everything else. Vonel, of course, approves of the KBL 900. However, for Sergio and Dmitry, there just needs to be some more compelling practicality or comfort compared to other cars at this price. That means that the KBL 900 is eliminated. The Somoni Naroda is the next car to take a shot at the economy crown. The basic design is a unibody front-wheel drive car where most of the design decisions are conscious of cost and weight. The Naroda gets the absolute best gas mileage in the whole challenge, at 31.4 mpg. That's probably because it's the lightest car in the whole challenge at 627 kilograms, and that's because of fiberglass body panels. The ad describes it as a duroplast, but that would be more like something like fiberglass with a negative quality in automation terms, whereas these are left at 0 quality. In fact, the engine's not all that thermally efficient, and all the quality sliders in the whole car are left at 0, so this thing probably could have pulled off an even higher gas mileage. It's too bad it didn't, because compared to some of the other cars that can come close in gas mileage, this just doesn't stick out in terms of practicality, comfort, or drivability. And on top of that, it's fairly expensive to manufacture. Vonel still gives this car his approval for its very low operating cost, but once again, Sergio and Dmitry are out, so the Naroda is eliminated. The 26th and final car of the competition is the AAZ Patya. A last-minute submission, rumor has it that this car was designed from the ground up by a powerful Soviet supercomputer, and then the design was finished by hand. It's powered by a large 3-cylinder and gets 29 miles per gallon on the expensive gas, but it also has fully 2 points of octane unused. Looking at the rest of the car isn't much better. The suspension tune is completely wonky. There's a fairly low roll angle because of a lot of rim offset, but the rest of the springs are super soft, so the car can barely hold any cargo at all, and it bottoms out severely. The whole driving experience with this car is thoroughly mediocre. It just doesn't have anything special to offer. So the Patya is eliminated. But what's this? A surprise challenger? The AAZ Haast is an everyman's car built by the same company which serves the Prime Minister and the secret police. It's a car so absurd I need a stiff drink. It's no presidential limo, but this large, 3-door hatchback comes with a premium interior, standard radio, and a 60 horsepower 4-cylinder, which gets an impressive 16.5 seconds 0 to 60 and record-setting 32.5 miles per gallon. Albeit on the premium gas, this is still an achievement for such a big car. It has adequate drivability for a big rear-wheel drive car, and of course, impressive comfort stats. Unfortunately, it's in after the deadline. After I published some other cars' stats, I needed to help him like 3 times just to get good stats in the first place, and the game version updated to 4.2.9, and the name is filled in wrong. This one's going right back to Cobristan. Now we're down to just 7 of the best cars. There's only 1 episode left, and only 1 car can win. Stay tuned for the exciting final episode.